creative thinking style, the first word that came to mind was a synthesizer. And I don't know why that was the word that spoke to me, but when I was looking at his content, he talks about crypto, he talks about traveling, he does a lot of traveling, he talks about uh, being a man, being a black man, a single black man, navigating adulthood. He also talks a lot about just like philosophical things, like, deep things, like things that just really resonate on a human level. And all of these different ways, all these different things that he talks about, it still makes sense because of the way that he brings them all together. And so I wanted to I wanted to demonstrate like how each of those areas, so there's 5 different areas, I think it's five different areas that I'm going to talk about in this video and break down, and the different areas that he talks about, and I'm going to explain how they all make sense because he is a synthesizer. Now, the thing that's cool about knowing your creative thinking style is that not only does it help you to understand yourself, but it also helps you to understand how to make better content, how to make your content make sense together, and it also helps you to learn how to monetize your creativity so that you feel confident when you are putting yourself out there, when you're putting these things together, and when you're marketing it. Because one of the things that has been such a big challenge for me is feeling like people are only teaching you one way to do all of this stuff. And that's always been a struggle because it felt like I couldn't follow these rules that people were giving me. They didn't make sense. And I was seeing how all of these different interests that I had would come together in a way that when when it came to how I thought about it, it made sense. But when it came to actually explaining that to people or making content that marketed it, I would feel like that tension because the way that I wanted to do it wasn't necessarily the way that people were telling me to do it. So I'm about to break down what that looks like. And I think that we'll see how I do on time. My goal is to make this a very concise video. And if I do that, then that'll be perfect. That'll be perfect because I can be on here for a long time. Anyway, so I want to be able to talk a little bit about what monetizing it looks like. And I'll actually use the example that he has. I'll give my suggestion on what monetizing looks like, and we'll see if he takes my advice or not. Okay, that's the best way I could put it because there have been some talks of things, but I don't want to get ahead of what he wants to do. So with all that being said, the last thing that I do want to mention is that all of this that I'm talking about, the creative thinking styles, learning how to make content that aligns with the way that you think, being confident, being clear in what you are creating, what you are selling, all of that is things that I cover inside of something called Selling Without Selling Out. It is a workshop and an implementation lab. It's a community where you learn your creative thinking style. First and foremost, you learn how to sell naturally and confidently. You learn how to create content that aligns with how you think so that you can feel more confident and you can be more consistent and you can be clear about what it is that you are monetizing so that when you talk about it, people understand it and it clicks, it attracts the right people. And so I ran the workshop a few weeks ago. I think it's probably been about a month ago at this point. And it was so much fun. But what I realized is that outside of the workshop, I really needed to create a container and a space for people to work through these things and to practice and to put things out there and experiment so that they could see for themselves what works. Because all of it sounds good in theory, but the real magic happens when you put stuff out there, when you experiment, when you try it and see how it fits. And so the Sell Without Selling Out lab and workshop is open. The invitation is open. And after listening to this case study, I hope that it really inspires you to want to learn what yours is and not only learn what it is, but learn how to monetize it. So, with all that being said, let's get into it. So, My friend Imani, he is a creator. He's been creating for a few years. The way that I found him was because he talked about crypto. So he talks about crypto. He talks a little bit about general finance, not too much, general finance. He talks about day trading. He talks about skateboarding. He talks about navigating adulthood, traveling, all of these different things. And at first glance, it might look like he's all over the place. But when you see that there's a common thread in the way that he brings it all together, you realize that his way of thinking is lateral. He's a lateral thinker. He's a synthesizer. And so he's able to take these different things that seem like they don't make sense together, but bring them and give them like a common thread, like bring it all together in a way that's unexpected and that's different, but it makes sense. So I'm going to break down each of his different ones. I'm going to go through each category and I'm going to tell y'all why it works. So let me scroll down. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the crypto and day trading. If I had to like prioritize all of them, I would say that crypto is like his base, right? Like that's the main thing that kind of brings everything together. And that was how, like I said, I found out about him. And that's probably the majority of his content. I would say about 60% of his content, 60 to 70% of his content is either about crypto, day trading, things like that. And so, what he does when he talks about day trading is that he doesn't talk about it in the typical way of showing his numbers, right? He's not showing his bank account. He's not flashing his car, his house. He's not showing off like the flashy things. He really it has a heart for people to understand how to do it for themselves. And so he breaks down the psychology behind how you have to think and the type of person that you have, the type of mindset that you have in order to be successful as a day trader. He talks about the market, how to understand the trends in the market, the psychology behind that. And even noticing the trends, how to actually have the information, like the basic information that you need so that you can begin doing it for yourself. And so when he talks about it, he also brings this balance between what like could be potential pitfalls as a trader and what that means for your mindset. So let's say, for instance, you are somebody who tends to be very impulsive, right? Like you're impulsive, and if you see something trending on the news, that's going to immediately move you to buy or sell, right? I'm not a trader. This is not financial advice. I would never even pretend to be that person. So don't take this as advice. This is just my made up example. But let's just say like there's a correlation between the two. That is where he's going to naturally go. So to this day, I don't know how much money he makes. I know he makes money. I don't know how much he makes. I know that he understands it because he can break it down and talk about it in a way where even I can understand some of the concepts. And this is not my area of expertise. And it makes me feel empowered when I listen to it because he's educating and he's making it something that is easily digestible and is relatable. And he also talks a lot about how there is even like fear mongering, and there's things that people put that's kind of like smoke and mirrors when it comes to what you should be buying, what you should be selling, things with crypto, especially how crypto and politics kind of comes together. He brings all of that to light and he sheds light on that, and it is all like kind of like dispelling the myths and the things that might draw people in or take them or lead them astray. So all of those different areas that he focuses on and the way that he talks about it and approaches crypto is a synthesizer, is a lateral thinker, because again, he's taking these different things, these different aspects that you wouldn't think matter when it comes to trading, and he shows you why it all comes together, why it matters, and how understanding these things can actually make you successful as a day trader or somebody who invests in crypto, even if you are not an expert. Okay. And so the tone, if I had to give it like an overall like vibe or mood, is very reflective. It's analytical. It forces you to think a little bit deeper and go deeper, like go beyond the surface of what you see. And if I I'm trying to think. I think that he actually was probably the first person who made me feel like it was something that I could really do, especially when it came to crypto. I remember I would watch a lot of his videos. He would go live at times, and I would listen to him kind of break down like what or like what's the term, like bear or bull in the market, like what those terms mean, how to know where to go to buy crypto, to trade it, how to have a, like, how to create a wallet, like all of these different things that I had no idea. I didn't know anything about that. And he was one of the first people who not only introduced me to some of those things, but made me feel like, oh, you know what? Actually, I get what you're saying. Like that makes me feel like, okay, I could possibly do this. And so all of those different things are what makes his approach to crypto a little bit different. Now, the thing, the thing that's interesting about it though is that this is going to be a common thread in all of the different things that he talks about, all the different areas that he talks about. So, we talked about crypto, we talked about day trading. Number two, we're going to talk about skateboarding. Now, you may be thinking, what does crypto and skateboarding have to do with one another? I'm about to tell you exactly why it works and why they don't go together, but they go together because of the way that his brain works and the way that he approaches it. So he has been getting into skateboarding recently. I don't know how long it's been, but it's like a recent thing. And so he decided that he wanted to challenge himself to get better at it. So he was like a, like decent skateboarder, like he could stay up, go around the rink without falling. However, he is getting into doing tricks, going to skate parks, and he's recording and showing the different tricks that he's doing. And so, I mean, like the stuff that you saw, like I can't remember what the name of that game was. I think it's like, so I don't know. I feel like Tony Hawk was in it. You know that game, that skateboarding game. They had skateboarding, snowboarding, and you could do like different tricks and stuff like that on there. And so he does like those tricks, like getting like jumping up and going across the rail and going up the ramps, doing all these different things. And so I'm watching him like literally teaching himself how to do these different tricks. And I'm like, how are you just learning this? Like you didn't know how to do this like 2 weeks ago. And the thing that's cool about him showing it is that it's not about showing off, it's not about the aesthetics, it's not about looking cool doing it. It's about the mindset and the mentality to not give up. So what he's really showing you is not how to do a trick, but he's talking about resilience. He's talking about getting up and trying something even if it feels like it's too late in your life to do it. He's giving different lessons that he's learning because he decides to push himself, and he's deciding to go for these different tricks and learn these different things. And he's watching himself in real time improving. And so even when you see his videos, he's showing you himself skateboarding, but the text on the screen will be something about a lesson that like doing this trick taught him, or he'll show himself messing up and having to keep redoing it and redoing it and redoing it until he gets the trick down. And seeing that and seeing how you can like literally watch the progression and you can watch the growth, and then you can understand his heart behind it and his mentality behind it, and you can see, oh, I feel like I see you getting a little bit more confident, or I see you going and upgrading to a bigger ramp, a higher ramp, or you're going to parks that have some different things that you're not used to doing, or you're doing these tricks where now you're like jumping up and down, like literally like the stuff that you would see Tony Hawk doing. That's the only skateboarder I know, y'all. And I don't even think he skateboards. I think he snowboards. But you get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. And so it links between the physical learning and the mental resilience and what it teaches you. And so even if this is not something that he's done yet, but this is something that I feel would really bridge the gap even more and connect the things even more, is if he showed how the patience and the endurance and the resilience, or even just the determination in skateboarding, and how that connects to navigating a volatile market when it comes to crypto. when it comes to stocks, or how this is teaching him how to be even more patient, or to be even more um analytical, or to be even more in depth in what he's noticing in the markets. Again, I don't do crypto. I don't know exactly what the connection would be, but I feel like bringing that together and showing how that all plays into one another will really strengthen even more the way that his brain works, the synthesizing that he does when it comes to his content and the different areas that he brings into it to really make himself a whole creator. And I think that's the part that really makes me excited, not only about doing this case study for him, but also how this can be freeing for any type of thinking style. Like, if you are not necessarily a lateral thinker, but maybe you are an aesthetic thinker, and seeing how the different aspects, how these different design elements come together to create something that is probably unexpected but is harmonious. Or if you are an inspirational thinker and you're sitting there and you're like, wow, I didn't realize that this connects to this, like, two different fields, and how that comes together. Like, seeing how the ways that you make connections and the things that inspire you, the things that move you, how they all come together to make you whole, like to make you somebody that's not just one dimensional. And I think that this was really motivated from hearing so many people saying that they don't want to be boxed in, or that they don't want to be locked into a niche, or hearing people feeling like they're just one dimensional, or feeling like they're just stuck talking about one topic or one thing. And I want to know, like, how many people either feel like that right now, have felt like that before, or maybe that's a fear that you have, and maybe that's why you're not as consistent with your content, because you're not really connecting with what you used to do. But you want to know, how do I bring these different aspects to myself, or of myself, into my marketing, into my content? Because you probably have seen other people do it and they make it look easy. And you're like, why doesn't that work for me? And how do I bring that into what I'm doing and creating? Because I feel like I need to bring some different sides, so that I can not only feel like I'm expressing myself fully, but also I'm making myself stand out. Because there's so many people that talk about crypto. I scroll by so many people that talk about crypto, especially because I follow a few creators that talk about crypto, day trading, and so many of them all look exactly the same. They're all showing screenshots. They're all showing these like expensive cars, and they're showing all these other expensive things, and really like leaning into this lifestyle, which, that's cool, but it doesn't make you stand out to me. It's not showing me anything different. It's not showing me who you are. It feels like you're just showing me what you feel like you need to show me in order to sell. And I feel like this is bringing like the human and the personality into it, so that you can still talk about your main thing. And for him, his main thing would be crypto, day trading, right? You can still talk about that, but how do I bring some color and some context and some variety to it, so that it makes me a human that people can actually relate to and connect with? And it also makes sense for the way that I view it and the way that I approach it, right? So, with all that being said, we are now on number 3. So we talked about the first topic was day trading and crypto. The second one, we talked about skateboarding, and now the third one we're going to talk about is going to be traveling. So I told y'all he travels. That's another reason why I know he is making money. Again, don't know how much, but he's literally demonstrating one of the things that he values and cares about, and showing that whatever he's doing on the crypto and day trading side is helping to fund the things that he loves, right? Which is just like chef's kiss, y'all. That is like the easiest way to market it. And again, it's not about showing the flashy things, the expensive things, but it's just showing that this is giving me this thing that I love. It's helping me to do this thing that I love, right? Like you're literally making the connection for people. And so maybe I'm not really big on like the finance world. Maybe I don't really care too much about that. But if I could learn how to day trade, I could travel more because I want to travel more. I want to do this. And so he's literally demonstrating the connection between the two really without having to say a word, right? So as a lateral thinker and talking about traveling, his focus is really more so about how the different cultures either influence his worldview, shift his worldview, or even kind of getting into the history of it because he does talk a lot about history, a big history guy. And so like learning like even that speaks to trends. So I just had like a moment there where I noticed another connection. But how history and the trends and how that all connects to what he already does with the day trading and crypto, right? Or showing how he is introduced to a different way of living or a different philosophy of life, or just meeting different people doing different things and what that has done or how that's impacted him, or maybe just how this trip has given him the space to really just like take some time to reflect and to consider like what do I want to do next with my life, or are thinking about what's been happening, what have I been feeling, what have I been experiencing, and what am I realizing that I want to do now, or what am I realizing I have been missing that I now want to try. I wouldn't be surprised if him getting into skateboarding was inspired by traveling, right? And so showing how not necessarily how to travel. He's not showing you how to use your points to get free flights. He's not showing you how many expensive stores that he went to, or what he bought there, but really how the aspect of just traveling and being in a different place opens up new ways of thinking, opens up new perspectives, or at least just at minimum gives you the space to just kind of get outside of your normal day to day and to check back in with yourself. And so that is all again tying into the philosophical tendencies that he has, the analytical tendencies that he has, and noticing how these different things that seemingly don't go together, how they correlate and how they can make sense, and how they can even just kind of like disrupt things a little bit and shake things up and give you a new way of viewing the world, yourself, your problems, whatever it is. It gives you a new way of thinking. And so one of the things that he could do, like a really cool content idea that could bring this together, or at least kind of like bring in his lateral thinking, is how traveling alone as a man can force you to be more self-aware. And actually, I feel like that's like a really cool angle, especially for men, because I know that we have more men that talk about self-awareness and emotional intelligence and just things that mental health, like I think that we definitely see more men talking about that now, but I feel like that it doesn't mean that there's it's prominent, it's not dominant, especially when we talk about the podcast guys, which we're not going to go down that route, because the podcast guys, we need to go and repo a bunch of these microphones. But anyway, I love that. I feel like that would be authentic for one. Like that would be genuinely the way that he thinks and what he already creates. But I think that it will also just bring a fresh perspective. And I think that it will offer something different, especially as it pertains to content that is gets geared towards men. Like they're showing you like, hey, traveling can be cool, and you can have the traveling where you're partying and it's lit, and you're doing all the fun things, like that's cool. But also there's another side to traveling. There's other things that it can offer you and bring to you that you might want to consider, because you're still a human regardless, and you do need to check in with yourself. You do need to understand yourself. You do need to be able to know, why am I feeling this, what am I experiencing, and you just at minimum, you need to be able to take care of yourself, right? So I love the possibility of being able to bring more of that into his content. And to be fair, I feel like I see that already, but maybe going a little bit further with it would really help make that connection and bridge those things together so that people are seeing, okay, if let's just say like literally like this is the connection that a person's brain might make when they see his content. If I learn how to day trade, if I learn how to invest in crypto, that can fund my lifestyle of traveling, right? And if I'm traveling, that can give me the space to connect with different cultures, or it can give me a different way of thinking, or it can give me the space to take care of myself and to learn more about me. And so, all of this from day trading, learning how to day trade, you ultimately become somebody who develops and grows and becomes a better man or a woman, because his content is not just geared towards men. But I do think that there's a huge opportunity to attract men, because I feel like that money, the day trading, the crypto is probably going to be the thing that gets people in the door, because people want more money. Everybody wants more money. And then seeing what that can do and what that can provide. So I hope that he takes that advice too, because that would be amazing. Like I feel like it would make everything just kind of like, oh, that's why he's showing this, and that's why this video is talking about this, and that's why this is there, because he's still going to bring it all together and make it and have it still be analytical, still have it be something that forces you to just think a little bit deeper than the surface. It is empowering, informative, educational. So bringing all those different things together. Um, yeah. Oh, I'm getting excited, y'all. Okay. So let's move on to number 4. Move on to number 4. And then number 5, just to give you a heads up, number 5 is going to be how I would suggest monetizing it. Okay. So number 4, let me go through one more time what we talked about. So we talked about crypto and day trading. His second area that he talks about is skating. The third area that he talks about is traveling, and now the fourth one is going to be lifestyle, which encompasses a couple of different things. But to summarize it all, we're going to say navigating adulthood as a single man. Okay, a single black man is what I really wanted to say, but that was going to be too many words in the title of this video, so I didn't do that. But the main thing that grounds all of this, the lifestyle, any aspect of his lifestyle that he talks about, is things have to mean something. Like, how do I make what I'm doing meaningful? Or how do I describe the meaning behind what I do? Because one thing that's going to be consistent across all of the creative thinking styles, regardless of how you approach it, is that meaning is so important to creatives. The things that we do have to mean something to us. It has to make an impact. It has to make a difference. It has to speak to our passions. We don't just do things that don't mean nothing. And so there's always a very deep connection to whatever it is that we decide to talk about or to monetize. And that passion is really what people can feel when we do talk about different topics and when we do promote our things. So his content, his way of navigating his philosophy, I'll say, and in adulthood, leans really heavy into people who are independent and people who are independent thinkers. So people who don't just go along with the status quo, people who don't just take what they see on the news as law. They're people who are going to look at things and be like, where is that coming from? Why are you saying that? Right? So independent thinkers, people who value emotional development, Remember, I was talking about the self awareness, right? Emotional intelligence. People who value that, the development of yourself, your emotions, understanding them, knowing how to express them in a healthy way, knowing how to explain them to people, all of those things. Another thing that his content, his way of thinking is going to connect with people is understanding, like really understanding your identity. Like being grounded in that, being clear on what that is. And if you feel shaky in it, getting back to an understanding of it, because that is the core of what you do. If you don't know your identity, what are you doing? I don't even know how to say that. Another thing that he's really big on is responsibility. So, personal responsibility, social responsibility, and making sure that, you're taking accountability for your actions. That if you are doing something that's probably not the best for you, recognizing that and being like, you know what, I want better for myself. Or seeing just like the world at large, like feeling responsible for your neighbors, feeling responsible for your brothers, for your sisters, and feeling like that connection to other people, and having like that be a conviction for you, like it moves you to action. The other thing is loneliness versus freedom, which is actually a really interesting one, because I don't think that a lot of men especially talk about loneliness and what that feels like. And I can remember a time where he was actually very open about that and transparent about just feeling like that loneliness, and being in a place where he wasn't close in proximity to his family, and he had just moved for his job, and only person that he had was his dog. And so having like this deep longing for connection, and just to have people around, and also wanting to have that freedom to pursue different things, because although he was feeling the loneliness of the move, he also felt like the move was important for him, like he needed to make that move for his development, and across different areas. And so talking about the balance of that, and even like what that looks like and how you navigate both sides. And then the last thing that he talks about that I feel like could definitely be leaned into a little bit more is this idea of masculinity and being introspective. And so not only like what does that look like, how does masculinity present itself for you, as opposed to trying to conform to what people tell you masculinity looks like? Or what are some things that you probably should be trying to pursue or develop or grow in as a man? And being able to really think about and think about who you are, how you are operating in the world, how your relationships are, and being able to understand who you are, what you're doing, like that self-awareness. And so all those different topics are the types of things that people who value them will resonate with. Those are the topics, those are the people that are going to really like gravitate towards his stuff. And the way that he talks about it is not in a self-help kind of way. Right? Like it's not in a this is what you should be doing. It's not preachy. It's not, this is what you need to be doing. This is how you should be. It really is more reflective. Like honestly, it really ain't about you. Like it's about me, but I'm sharing it because it might help you. And so it feels very easy to receive, and it is helpful because it helps you not only to relate and connect, but it gives you something to think about that you maybe weren't considering before. And so I think that if he leaned into that more, he could almost use it like, let's like imagine like this is like a talking head video, and he had a talking head where he was talking about the things that he's learned and how they correlate, like literally how I'm doing right now, where I'm talking about the different areas and the connection between them. What is he learning from all these different areas? So I learned this new trick skating, and I went to Costa Rica last month, and I've been digging into learning about this new crypto. Again, y'all, the crypto one's gonna be very vague. I wish it could be better, but I won't apologize for it anymore. So anyway, so how do these? What am I learning about myself because of it? And how am I navigating it? Or how am I getting better at it? Like there was even a video that he posted not too long ago where he was literally talking about how he has learned so much over the past 2 years as a trader and how he's become stronger because of it. And he's been reflecting on that and how he feels even more confident now teaching this to people because he's been putting in the work and the reps over these past few years to really learn it and get better at it. And so something like that would not only educate people, not only would it put him in a position where he still shows up like an authority even if he doesn't know all the answers, and it is something that brings together all of the different areas, all the different areas of content that he creates in a way where it connects for people and it clicks for people and it makes sense why all these different things are showing up because it connects to one common thing. So those are the four areas: day trading and crypto, skateboarding, no, not skateboarding, skating, um, traveling, and lifestyle. And now I'm going to get into what I feel would be a great avenue for monetization. Okay. Are y'all ready for it? So my suggestion would be to create a a learning community. And this could be something that could be done on Discord or Patreon, something where he can disseminate the information that he's learning in real time. Like what he's working on, what he's learning, it's almost kind of like getting access to his brain and being able to have conversations with him and ask him even some more specific questions as he's learning even more and as you're learning, so that it's like you're kind of like being taken along on the journey. And I feel like what will make this really unique is that it doesn't just have to strictly be about trading. It doesn't have to just be like a day trading community or a crypto community. It could literally be a community of people who are like-minded, where we're learning how to trade, we're learning how to invest in crypto, but we're also connecting on philosophical ideas, or we are talking about travel plans, and maybe it could branch out into people going on group trips together from the community, and having it be something that is, I feel like subscription would be the simplest thing to do, but I would advise kind of shifting away from the subscription model. And this is a personal preference for one, but also just what I feel like I'm noticing is that I feel like people are getting fatigued with subscriptions. I know I am. And so making it something where it can maybe be like a yearly investment, and it can be a space where it's just like it's an ongoing evergreen source of income, but he gets to do what he loves to do in a environment where it's just really like relaxed and flexible, and it doesn't require something as rigid as a curriculum, because the as great as lateral thinkers are as synthesizing, creating a curriculum may not be your thing, and it may not be something that you necessarily want to adhere to. Like, I think that there needs to be a certain level of like freedom and flexibility in it, and so I would suggest something that allows that, but is still stable enough where you're not creating a bunch of different products. You get what I'm saying? So that would be my suggestion. I don't know the price point, none of that. We're not getting that deep into it, but that is something that we definitely could, if we were working together and we were really going through this, especially inside of selling without selling out. But for the meantime, I'm just going to plant that little seed there. Okay, and that's what we're gonna let it marinate, let it simmer. So to sum it all up, If you are a lateral thinker like Imani is, you are somebody who is not selling a lifestyle, but you are decoding it in real time. You are figuring things out, you are solving the puzzle, and you are seeing how these different pieces come together. You're not flexing, you're not showing off. Like, your goal is not to make people feel jealous, but it's really about put having a place where you can put your insights down and share them with people, so that they not only can be inspired by them, but they can use them as a guide for themselves. And one thing that you may find difficult is picking a niche. And what I want to say to that is that although you are still kind of operating in a way where you have a niche, like I would say that his niche definitely is trading, day trading and crypto, like the finance space. The way that he adds personality and context to it is where those different areas come into play. And so although it is still kind of a niche, it doesn't have to be as linear and as basic as all you talk about is this one topic. You get what I'm saying? Like, you have something that is very clear. This is what I do, this is how I help you, but the way that I express that is where the different areas come into play. And so his way of thinking, and yours most likely, if you are a lateral thinker, is you value thoughtfulness, depth, philosophy, and action. Like, it's not just sitting and thinking about big ideas, but you're putting them into action and observing what it looks like in real time, and your observations that link to different things, and how those things, those different observations, come together in a way where it makes sense, where it's all grounded and it's kind of like in a container. Okay, so that's my case study, y'all. That is the lateral thinker. I i i want to do, I feel like I want to do a like a general, this is what a lateral thinker is. I might do that in like a separate video, because there is some more. This was a very specific example. All right, this is a case study, and I did it this way because I felt like a case study is definitely going to be helpful in illustrating what this person looks like, not just the concept or the idea, but what it looks like in terms of what does my content look like? What what would I do to monetize it? And so each one that I do for the remaining creative thinking styles is going to be the same. It's going to be case studies. So I do want to have something that complements it, where it just breaks down what each style is. And I think what I'll do, I can't guarantee that it'll be a video, but maybe I'll have a article or a blog post that breaks down each thinking style, so that you can see it basically, plainly what it is. The last thing that I do want to share with y'all is that you can figure out your creative thinking style. Most people can recognize it when they hear it, but you have more than one. Okay. And the cool thing about knowing your combination is that you can see how the dominant one operates, right? Like, I would definitely say that Imani's dominant thinking style is lateral, but he has another complementary style. And so I help people to figure this out through the creative thinking style profile. It's a quiz that I created on Chat GPT. It's a custom GPT that I made. And you can take that quiz, and it will help you identify your dominant creative thinking style and your secondary creative thinking style. And you can see how they complement one another, how they can sometimes butt heads, how to create it where it's harmonious. And you also get to see cool things like, what does it look like for me making content with these thinking styles? What are some business ideas that I could pursue when you put in your once you know your creative thinking styles, and then you put in the areas that you're interested in, or the areas where you are already monetizing, and you maybe are pivoting, or maybe you're in a space where you haven't really been making a lot of money doing it, and you want to know, how do I start to make money doing this skill, this thing? Then you can ask very specific questions according to your creative thinking style. And it doesn't just have to be business related. There's actually a lot of different things that are related to your creative thinking style, like hobbies, workout routines. Like, there's a lot of things that you could look into that would correlate or connect to your creative thinking style. So that's another good reason to join Selling Without Selling Out. I was doing them one on one with people, and I may do them again. I may do a special on that, but don't hold me to that. Right now, the place to go is going to be inside of Selling Without Selling Out, the lab and workshop, and you'll have access to the profile there. And you can go back to the same thing, the same chat, and you can keep asking questions that come up, and you can keep strategizing and using it as a tool to help you to navigate this pivot and to better understand yourself so that you can stop feeling crazy, because you're not crazy. You just don't know how your brain works. You don't understand how it works and how to express it in a way where it attracts the right people. Okay. So that's everything. I definitely went way past 10 minutes, but that's okay. That's okay. Did y'all enjoy it? Did you like this? Was it cool? Was it interesting? Anything stood out to you? Do you think that you are a lateral thinker? If you're not, that's okay, because we're going to still be talking about the